From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm freshman Congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford, and I believe in America. I believe in you, and most importantly, I believe that our greatest days are still ahead. You know, each week we take you behind the scenes to share the stories, the legislation, and the news of the day. And we also meet the great folks who I have the pleasure of working with help shape our great nation and our great state. Today, we're doing a special edition of Mark Alford's America from the Missouri State Fair in Sedalia, Missouri. Happens to be in the 4th Congressional District of Missouri. We are honored to be joined by Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, a man whose journey from humble beginnings to high office is a testament to the power of hard work, determination, and the American dream. Mike was born and reared in North St. Louis City by a single mother of 6. He learned the value of hard work at a young age, from washing cars at 15 to becoming a successful businessman. His story is one of grit and perseverance. As Missouri's 48th Lieutenant Governor, Mike has not only been a staunch advocate for seniors and veterans, but he's also been instrumental in promoting Missouri businesses through initiatives like the Buy Missouri program. His leadership extends across various sectors from ag to transportation, and his commitment to public service is evident in his work each and every day. This month, Mike secured the Republican nomination for governor of the great state of Missouri, and he will be, I think, the next governor of the great state of Missouri. Please welcome Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. Mike, good for you to be with us.
Congressman, thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be with you, and I appreciate the job you're doing fighting for liberty and freedom in Washington, D.C. for us.
One thing I really liked about your campaign and on your signs, it had the word common sense. Somehow we have lost what common sense is in America.
Yeah, our slogan ever since I started running was leadership, values, and common sense. Values meaning Missouri values. You know that. You travel the district. You hear it every day from your constituents. You do a great job with folks. Leadership, you have to be able to lead and make decisions in government, but you need common sense to guide you in all of those decisions. And so we think it seems like it's oversimplified, but so many times, as you mentioned, we've gotten away from what's just a common sense solution to some of these problems.
Weird question, but I'm seeing there's a green cover for a table over here. Why do you use the color green in your campaign signs?
Because we're Irish. That's the color of the Irish. So Kehoe is Irish. Our family comes from County Cork over in Ireland, and late 1800s we immigrated over here, and it was Keough, but they changed our name in Ellis Island as like a lot of people to Kehoe. So when we ran for office many years ago, I have nothing against our country's colors, red, white, and blue. I love them, but every politician, their brother uses red, white, and blue.
Including me.
And God love you, and you've been successful. And we wanted to stand out. We weren't a politician. We weren't anybody who was supposed to be in politics or anything, that like that. So we just decided to go with colors that were more what our family's about.
Let's talk a little bit about your history and growing up. We were just talking before we started recording this, and I made some reference to an obscure old television show, Hee-Haw, BR549. You had no idea what I was talking about. Why is that?
Well, I've, heard Hee-Haw and some of the other shows. When we were growing up, we had very humble beginnings. My father left when I was a year old. My mom raised 6 kids by herself. And so we didn't have a lot of extra resources for things like TV. So, it was a great childhood. My mom was a devout Christian. You and I share that same faith journey and believing of why we're here and the purpose that we're here. My mother certainly reminded us of that multiple times a day. So we had a lot of love and a lot of Christianity, but if you would have measured our family in material things, it probably wasn't so big.
So you didn't have a TV?
No.
And so when people make references to old TV shows, do you want to go back and watch old TV shows?
Not really. I don't have a lot of time.
Well, there's not a lot good on now either, Mike.
Yeah. No, it's all good. No, obviously reruns and later, well, not later in life. I don't want to sound like we were 20 years old. One of my uncles or somebody did finally bring us a TV to our house, but by that time we were out and about working. So I don't want to act like we'd never had a TV in our whole life. We got one as I was late in grade school at some point in time, but just wasn't a focus of what we were about, and so we never really grew up around the TV.
Did you ever get to know your dad at all?
Nope, I never met my father. For whatever reason, he left. It was it was an abusive household, and so my mom and my older brothers and sisters went through a lot.
There are a lot of people who go through that in America.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. There's so many pressures now.
As you can tell, I have a huge spot in my heart for single mothers, or any single parent for that matter. But single mothers are, rock stars. However they got in that situation, and a variety of ladies get in that situation for various ways. But they always, they fend for their family. They fight for their kids, and they fight for making sure they can make it through. We're in a neighborhood where, quite frankly, a lot of kids I grew up with didn't make it out alive. And so you had to be tough.
How did you make it out alive?
Work. My mom taught me, and all our brothers and sisters, any time somebody would complain about, or any of my brother and my sisters about we don't have a lot or we don't, my mom's answer was two things: work harder, pray harder. And she was very much believed that if you love the Lord and you worked hard, you can get anywhere you want in this country. And at 15, I got a big break sweeping floors and washing cars for a Ford dealership on the other side of St. Louis, and that's how I got out of it. I started working and very much enjoyed it. That gentleman who owned that business became a mentor and really a father figure to me, and we worked our way out of it.
You ended up owning a car dealership,
yes,
right? Was it that one or a different one?
No, it was a different one. So I went from working in South St. Louis, Missouri, to a small town in central Missouri in Osage County, Lynn, Missouri. Was there for a manufacturing business that they wanted me to check into. It was about to close. The gentleman that raised me, Mr. Sinclair in St. Louis, owned part of it. And we got there and found out there were some problems with the management. We made some management changes. We turned the company around and had 25 employees. It really was on the brink of not making it. Today it has 140 employees, and it's one of the largest emergency vehicle manufacturers in the United States. So builds ambulances. And we weren't doing that when I got there. We built customized vans and trucks. Many of your staff would not know what a conversion van was, but you and I.
Oh, I definitely know it is.
And we converted. We saw that industry was soft, and it was going to be tough to make a viable living and keep those families employed. And so we slowly but surely converted the manufacturing to ambulances and emergency vehicles. And it's worked out well. The employees own it now. I'm super proud of them. They've built that business, and that was a great success story with the help of a lot of people. And went on from there. My wife and I bought the Ford and Lincoln dealership in Jefferson City.
Where'd you meet Claudia?
On a blind date. How lucky is she? Did you ever think about that? She's here with us, for those of you who can't see.
She's a trooper. I tell you what.
She's been, just like Leslie is a big guy, it's been an incredible blessing in my life. We met on a blind date, and in 3 weeks we got engaged.
Really?
Yeah. I meet these kids all the time. They introduce me to their girlfriend or boyfriend. How long have you been dating? Oh, we're dating 4 years, 5 years, 7 years. And I'm like, man, get your mind made up and get on.
Either you know or you don't know.
Yeah, 3
Did
weeks.
you know pretty quickly that Claudia was
I think we both knew very quickly. Yeah.
That's how it was with Leslie.
Mm-hmm. We had 10-month engagement after that, and she still didn't change her mind. So we hurried up and got down that aisle in church. And this October will be 35 years.
Yeah.
She's been a great mother to 4 kids. And so we've been blessed.
I tell you what, I could not be doing what I'm doing without Leslie, and I know you can without Claudia. It really takes someone who's in your corner, who supports you fully, and who believes in you, because you got to go out there every day and prove to the people that you're worth their vote and their confidence.
Yeah, that wasn't it. And as you know, and you've been places with me before, we leave events and people like Claudia more than me. And, it kind of gives me a complex. But the other thing that Leslie does for you and Claudia does for me is they keep us real.
Yeah.
We surround ourselves with a great team and great staff. Your team, I know many of them, they're fantastic. But every once in a while, you need somebody who kind of gets real with you.
Right.
And I know Leslie.
Oh, she gets real a lot.
And so does Claudia. I know some stories you've told me. And Claudia's first one to tell me how horrible my speech was. So there you go.
So now we're at a point where you are the Republican nominee for governor. Your chances of winning are very good. This was not in your plan from the beginning to be doing this, was it?
No. I never really imagined being in politics. To be honest with you, I, as a small business guy, inherently did not trust politicians. I knew we were giving them tax dollars to do something with. I didn't think they were doing it wisely. And so I served in the Missouri Senate as a small business guy because our founding fathers were pretty smart. They wanted citizen legislators, so the Missouri Senate meets about 5 months of the year, 3 or 4 days a week, and you can do both. You can work and you can serve as a senator. So I did that as a way to give back to my community. And then really just as Claudia and I, after I became lieutenant governor through Governor Parson, we really fell in love with Missourians as we traveled the state and saw how successful they were, how smart they were. They don't need government in their life telling them what to do, and I know you agree with that. Just really were motivated to continue to create an environment that lets jobs and people foster growth and do what they want to do best, and that's produce products, whether that's in an agriculture business like we are here in the State Fair or manufacturing or whatever. It's an inspiring state.
Were you like I was in that Before I even won my election 2 years ago, I thought I'm already a winner because I have traveled to 24 counties. I've traveled on the back roads of Missouri. I've seen the beauty of God's creation in the Show Me State. I've met some people that I would never have met before in my life. And I've got to imagine that you on a statewide basis even feel more inspired by that.
Yeah, people ask Claudia all the time. They'll say to one or two of us, "Thank you for doing this." And her answer, my answer is the same. Are you kidding me? We wouldn't have met all these people across the state and seen all the cool things we're seeing without running for this job. And I'll tell you, it's more inspiring than that.
We're talking with Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, the Republican nominee for governor of the great state of Missouri. You're listening to Mark Alford's America. When we come back, I want to talk about the state of our union, the state of our state, and the state of our party, and where we go from here. Some tough things we need to talk about on Mark Alford's America when we come back. Welcome back to Mark Alford's America, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look and let you meet some of the folks helping shape our great nation and our great state of Missouri. Today, we're talking with Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, a dedicated public servant with deep roots in Missouri's business and ag communities, and he's the Republican nominee for governor of the great state of Missouri. Mike, you also were worked in tourism in Missouri. How did you get into that?
Yeah, well, as part of the lieutenant governor's role, as you mentioned earlier, I think our most important role is to be the advocate for our state's heroes, our veterans, 470,000 heroes live in the state, as well as our state seniors. But lieutenant governors also have a position on the state's tourism commission. And that's been a great role because I love to sell things, and Missouri certainly has a lot of things to sell. Tourism it bounces between second and third largest industry in our state. Agriculture is obviously number one. Over 301,000 Missourians have a direct job in the tourism industry. So selling the state and the assets we have for people to see, I think, is fantastic.
Missouri has so much to offer. If we get people here, we just had a group from Washington, D.C. come down a couple of weeks ago. Never been to Lake of the Ozarks. All they had seen was the Ozark show. The Blue Cat Lounge. That is not a true depiction of Lake of the Ozarks.
An entrepreneur actually opened a Blue Cat Lounge.
He did. We went there.
I love it.
Swallow the minnow.
Hey, thank you for having your folks here. I know it was your district, but thank you for having them in Missouri. We love to have people exposed to all the great places we have.
So I like showing it off. I think it's the most beautiful state, and I'm very fortunate to represent the 4th District. Ag is so important, and of course we're here at the State Fair. We've been visiting with ag groups. One of my goals on the Agriculture Committee is to increase trade with other countries. I'm hoping that when you become governor that we can work on that together to get our beans and corn into markets that we're not in right now.
Well, thank you for bringing the Congressional Ag Committee here to the State Fairgrounds in Sedalia. I'll never forget meeting G.T. Thompson, the chairman, and how much they respected your opinion as a young freshman congressperson, and getting them to come here was fabulous for our state for the exposure. We are second in the United States with 87,000 family-owned farms here. Agriculture is who this state is. We're an agrarian state that we feed and clothe the world. Claudia and I are first-generation farmers. We've now been 40 years in the cow-calf business. So we're a proud part of that agriculture story. It's a small part, but a proud part of it. And to continue to make sure we have opportunities in both in domestic markets and international markets is very important to me and our ag producers. It's really important to our ag families to have that exposure and be able to get those products overseas when needed.
We'll see what happens. I think President Trump's going to be elected in November. I certainly hope he is. I know that you heard from him after your election. What did he say?
We just talked about coming from North St. Louis with no father, and then you have Donald Trump call you on the phone.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. President Trump was congratulatory, and it was more than just you and I both had conversations with people. You could tell they just did it because their staff told them they wouldn't hang the phone up. He was engaging. He was asking about things, asking about the campaign. What do you think he said of the new vice president pick on the Democrat side? And I wasn't expecting that from him. I thought he was going to say, congratulations, hang the phone up. And coincidentally, I just met J.D. Vance 2 weeks earlier. And I said, I just met J.D., Mr. President, you're going to smoke these guys. And I said, Missouri's going to deliver for you because we need you to save this country in more ways than you and I can count. And so we had a great conversation, but it was an incredible phone call. And at the very end, he said, this is my cell phone. Call me when you want. And I'm like, where's that number? Make sure we save that number.
We're at an interesting inflection point, I think, in the United States of America. We are at a crossroads. We talked about that today with the Farm Bureau. There's a lot at stake at this election. We can go one of two directions. I think prosperity and success, or failure and despair. The war on energy, number one, The inflection and introduction of $4 trillion in debt through the Inflation Reduction Act that's led to this outrageous inflation, the tax on every American who can't even afford to buy bacon or eggs now. This is a consequential election.
Every time we get to a presidential cycle, you and I have been to something, a meeting, a rally, a Rotary Club meeting, and they say, this is the most important election of your life. This is the most important election of your life. It really is. If you look what's on mine with the inflation that's going on, it's out of control. The open borders, Kamala Harris wants to act like she didn't have anything to do with the borders. It's amazing that she was the borders are and somehow is now forgotten.
Exactly.
The number of illegals coming into our country, specifically, Mark, in the state of Missouri, we estimate, of course, there's no way to know because there's no database, that there's 77,000 illegals here. The state of Missouri spent $464 million on illegals in our state in just 2023 alone. That's money we could have spent on our state's veterans, to our teachers, or more importantly, given back to our taxpayers. We have to shut that border down. Donald J. Trump's the only one that can do that.
Yeah. You've been down to the border. I've been down there. Governor Parsons sent our National Guard down there and helped Governor Abbott secure the border, at least in that section of Texas, and it actually worked.
Listen, I had the opportunity to meet Governor Abbott this week and thanked him for what he's doing on the border. As you know, he's reduced the numbers dramatically by taking this into his own hands. And he's very appreciative that Missouri and several other states helped with that. We had 2 units down in Laredo. We also had Highway Patrol in McAllen, Texas. I made 2 different trips down to thank those folks for defending our border and really paying a large part in the security of our country by protecting that border. Governor Abbott is an inspiring person. He shouldn't have to be doing this alone. The Biden and Harris administration have absolutely failed us on this.
If it comes down to it as governor, would you send the troops back down there?
I'll do anything I can to keep Missourians safe, and that includes keeping deadly Chinese fentanyl out of our state that's coming across that border. It's the #1 killer of Missourians between 18 and 44, and absolutely we'll do everything we can to protect Missourians. If that means going down to the border with troops, we're going to do it.
This was a tough race. I did not think Jay Ashcroft would come in third. He did. Bill Eigel came in second, made a very strong grassroots showing. There is a definite divide within our party and in our state right now. And how do we heal that rift?
Well, it's going to come down to we have to do it, because if we don't, Democratic liberal policies are going to take over the state. If we're divided, we're not going to be able to stand together. And if we don't stand together, we're going to start losing seats in the legislature, #1, in the Senate and the House. And then eventually statewide. Missourians should remember, just in the last 12 years, there was one statewide Republican office holder, and that was Peter Kinder. He was the only one that kept the flame alive. So don't ever think that we're not in jeopardy of losing this again. We have to make sure we keep our good conservative Christian values alive through the Republican Party, unite and come together and understand who the people are that we're fighting. We're fighting the people that are after our freedom, that want to give everything away, that want to have changing rooms in public schools for kids to identify as something else. It's ridiculous that we're having all these conversations. We have to unite the party to make sure that we're fighting for the common good.
We've got, 80 days, something like that, to the November election. What will you and Claudia be doing in these next couple of months?
Well, not that we're counting, but we have 82 days.
82, okay.
At the time of the podcast, and Claudia can tell you the number of hours. We're going to continue to work with our other statewide winners. You saw we had some really good results on August 6th, and we're going to work with them to continue to let Missourians know that we believe that the Republican and conservative way of life aligns best with Missouri, and make sure they understand what our vision is for the future. There's a lot of politicians want to talk about vote for me because I'm so good. We want to make sure we tell them, here's our vision. We want to make sure we continue to stay a land of opportunity, the opportunities that my mother, my brother, and my sister, quite frankly, had. Government didn't do that for us, but they created an environment where businesses could thrive and grow and provide opportunities for families. That's my focus. That's what I think we need to do.
You could quite possibly be the governor for the next 8 years. What would you want to leave as a legacy for Missouri?
Well, I would want to leave that we grow our population. If you're not growing, you're dying, and we've had some stagnant growth here over the last several years. I think it's several things: tax policy, crime, some of the things that we're going to work on. I would want to be going out of here, as feeling like I was blessed to have the opportunity, because I do feel that every day. But B, to know that I left this place just a little bit better than when I found it. There's a lot of ways you can measure that, but I believe there's a way to get that done.
Mike Kehoe, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I just appreciate that you're a real person. You're not You're kind
There's
of like
a lot of AI out there. I'm not one of those. I'm not artificial intelligence. Mark, thank you for the job you've done.
thank you.
You've done. This is not something that you really signed up for. You saw the need. You understood the jeopardies that we had, especially in Washington, D.C. You have hit the ground not only running, but hard charging. And your constituents, our state, our country is very fortunate to have
Well,
you.
God bless you. Thank you, Mike Kehoe. And folks, thank you. Thank you for joining us for Mark Alford's America. We'll talk again next week. Until then, remember, I believe in you. I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. And Mike Kehoe, I believe in America.
God bless you guys. Thank you.